It has been a while since I've made the last unboxing video, so how about I share with you some of my recent acquisitions. Apart from my main focus, which is Roman imperial coins, I also really enjoy Greek coins from the Hellenistic period. This was the age of the Greek kingdoms that emerged after the division of Alexander the Great's territories. They were around for quite a few years, from 323 BC until the very end of the 1st century BC, when Rome conquered the very last one of them, and they have a pretty spectacular numismatic legacy. Quite a lot of high-quality portraits, maybe not as expressive and dramatic as coins from the classical period, but very abundant and affordable bronze coins, and also silver coins like the ones we're going to be looking at today. And whether you like the history of this period or simply because you enjoy beautiful coins, it's certainly a wonderful niche to collect. Today we have a Macedonian coin, a Seleucid one, and one from a League of City-States. So let's have a look at them. And we start with Macedon, with this gorgeous little 1/5 of a tetradrachma. Some people also call this a tetradrachm. This was struck roughly between 315 and 295 BC, and the design of this coin is a copy of older coins issued in Macedon all the way back when Philip II, the father of Alexander the Great, was king. It's a bit of an oddity of a coin to me. Alexander the Great adopted the Attic standard of weight for the coins of his empire, but for some reason, in Macedon, his own homeland, silver coins were issued both in this new Attic standard of Alexander and an older, lighter standard in which this coin is a part of. The reason for these parallel standards circulating at the same time, frankly, it escapes me. All I know is that I absolutely love this little portrait of the god Apollo with a nice little laurel crown. I hope the camera is able to capture the crazy rainbow toning that this coin has, and it has developed this toning in some of the areas where the portrait meets the fields, and it just shines in this wonderful array of colors. This is what happens when you leave silver alone for a very long time. Sometimes it tones to like darker, dull colors, but when the conditions are just right, it becomes this marvelous kaleidoscope of colors. I'm going to take a lot of care with this coin because I want to make sure it doesn't lose that color. Heading to the reverse, we have a horse rider. Philip II had some of his horses participate in the ancient Olympics, and they won in multiple occasions. Back then, the winner wasn't the horse rider himself, but the breeder of the horses who submitted them to the championship, to the Olympics. We know Philip was very fond of his horses, and this might be the reason why we have this reverse. Of course, there's also the fact that horses were also closely tied to the upper class, to the idea of nobility, so this could also be the idea behind this design. Over it, we have the inscription Philippo, which roughly translates to coin of Philip, and under the horse, we have a little tripod. This was probably a symbol added to this coin to identify the particular issue this coin comes from. Probably a way of the mint to control the multiple different magistrates responsible for overseeing the mint throughout the years. Next, we move to the 2nd century BC to the Seleucid Empire for this nice little drachma of Antiochus VII. He was the last really strong Seleucid ruler, and he reigned between 138 and 129 BC. He came to power during a time of very deep crisis on his kingdom, and at first he actually did very well. He restored some resemblance of dignity of the monarchy, he defeated some usurpers, and he even managed to reclaim part of their old territories from the Parthians, who took nearly all of the Seleucid original territory. But it all came crashing down when he was killed in battle against those same Parthians in 129 BC. The Seleucids would still linger on for around a century after him, but they never recovered. They were reduced to a rump state, roughly around the area of their capital, Antioch, where this coin was made, and really just its surrounding areas. They were pretty much doomed on that point onwards. One thing that fortunately never seemed to fade away as the Seleucids went into their terminal decline was their ability to produce great-looking coins. Down to the smallest bronze pieces, they really have some great coins, especially if you enjoy some lovely portraits of their kings or of different types of Greek deities. Here in this drachma, which sadly has a little bit of damage around its edges, we have that wonderful portrait of Antiochus with his characteristic chubby portrait. If you pay close attention, you can see his full cheeks and a tiny little double chin. And despite being just a humble drachma, it has so many details on it. The hair, the royal diadem covered in certain areas by his flocks of hair. It's all very well made in high relief, and it gives this amazing sense of 3D. On the reverse we have Nike, the image of victory. Sadly, it seems like Nike wasn't visiting the Seleucids very often around that time, but that didn't prevent them from featuring the goddess on their coins. We can see her advancing to the left with some long wings on her back, almost dragging them on the floor, and she is raising a laurel crown, like if she was ready to crown the Seleucid monarch. Quite a few legends on the back as well. It reads, Basileus Antiocho Euergeto, King Antiochus the benefactor. Wonderful little coin. I'm always on the hunt for Seleucid drachma like this. They look fantastic. And finally, the third coin of the day, it's not from a kingdom, despite being issued during the Hellenistic period, but instead it was made by a confederation of city-states who banded together in order to resist the power of these large kingdoms. This is a hemidrachma, so half a drachma, so we can see it's not very big. And it was issued by the Achaean League between the middle 2nd century and the 1st centuries BC. The Achaean League was a confederation of the city-states of southern Greece, the region of the Peloponnese. Of course, the most famous city of the Peloponnese was Sparta, and in fact, Sparta was part of this league as well. And the idea was of a monetary and military union in order to resist the kingdom, especially the kingdoms of Macedon up north and the Romans to the west, and of course any other threats to their independence. Sadly, it didn't work that well for the Achaeans because Rome just swooped in and conquered them anyways. Lots of different cities from the region issued coins in the same standard to facilitate trade and coordination of armies between them, and they have very similar designs. On the obverse, they all have the portrait of Zeus, the king of the gods, as we can see here with his most typical side-facing portrait with that lovely full beard that gives him this authoritarian look. And on the reverse is where the coins of each city-state differentiate from one another. All of them have this border with the laurel crown, which is quite nice actually, but the inner part of the design has different symbols or letters depending on where the coin was made. In this case, by the letters Phi, Alpha, Lambda, we can assume this coin comes from Palantion, a city in the region of Achaia, right at the center of the Peloponnese and not very far away from Sparta. The lower part of the design also has a few monograms, probably also the initials of a magistrate responsible for the coin issue. And here we have it, only 3 coins, but gorgeous little things. Now I would like to hear from you. Have you been adding any coins to your collection lately? What do you have? Let us know in the comment section down below. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Leave a like and consider subscribing if you did. Happy collecting, and I'll see you soon.